3 months ago, I traveled all the way over to the coast in order to try to capture an iconic shot of the Golden Gate Bridge in the background of a wildlife photography image. Unfortunately, Google Maps didn't have the ability to route me on foot from the beach that I was currently at to the beach just down the way to get any sort of distance or amount of time it would take before the sunset. But luckily, I did it anyways and wound up getting a fantastic shot of the Golden Gate Bridge in the background of a wildlife photography image. Now, I've been in scenarios like this before, and I've always wondered to myself what I could do to better plan my trips to places that I'm unfamiliar with. Well, today I'm here to tell you that I've finally found my solution. Today, I'm out looking for photographs of songbirds, and man, would I get a cool shot later on. About 2 months ago, I started talking with Natural Atlas, who is sponsoring today's video, about their new app and how it works. I was scrolling around their topography map and noticed an area around a 90-minute drive away from me with some waterfalls not marked on any other online map I could find. I thought this was fascinating, and the explorer in me decided that I had to make a trip to go find them and see what wildlife was around. On Natural Atlas, it showed a few species I was keen on capturing, so I found the nearest parking spot and planned a custom route through a pond on the way there to stop and see if I could photograph anything near the beginning of my hike. As I was photographing some American coot, I was surprised to see a great blue heron fly by. It swung all the way back around and came in for the landing atop a tree, allowing me to work to try and capture a better photograph of it in its wooded environment. This is really exciting. I did not expect this here. He just suddenly took off on me when I was sitting there. He must have been hiding deep within some brush, took off, had a flyby that was super cool, was recording video at the moment, but could have gotten a good photo. And then he swooped back around, landed up there. All right, let's see if I can use some of this. This is nice. He looks the right direction. He just went. Whew, what a cool moment with that great blue heron. I've got 3 takeaways for you guys today on how to best optimize a wildlife photography trip. Firstly, always make sure to do your research on what types of animals might be in the specific area that you're going to. And then if so, what types of environments they might live in within that habitat. So an obvious example of this might be something like these American coots and mallards and great blue heron that I saw out on this pond that pretty much need water to live around. And so it's easy to find them here at this pond in this landscape. But a less obvious example might be something like a California quail that I'm hoping to see later on that might be dug deep within the bushes and far out of sight. Or even better yet, if I'm able to find a rare rufous crowned sparrow later on that live exclusively on the hill slopes of a lot of these hills around here, that would be really stinking cool. Just up the way, I got to bump into some beautiful yellow-rumped warbler, the Audubon's variation, which in my opinion seemed to shine in a way I don't see with the myrtles down in the valley where I live. Unfortunately, I didn't quite walk away with a shot that I loved, but at least I was able to capture something. A little further down, some lark sparrow popped out in front of me, and I captured one decent shot of one and the bold facial pattern that makes them stand out so prominently. So that oak titmouse is a prime example of living in a very specific environment in a specific habitat. I literally exclusively find them on oaks around here and nowhere else. And so that's an example of knowing exactly where the bird will be. I kind of heard it in the tree and saw it there because I knew that that's the sound it would make and it's only going to be in an oak. So looked into the oak, found it there. Ooh, that's that rufous crowned sparrow up there that I was talking about. So he's up in a tree, which I normally don't see. Usually see them further down on the ground. Let's try to get the right angle on this. Rufous crowned sparrows are beautiful birds that are often hidden foraging in grass along a hillside. Seeing this one high up in a tree singing its heart out was great for getting a good view. But unfortunately, no matter what angle I tried, I wasn't getting the photo that I was wanting. I tried every different angle I could around the perch, but ultimately he was just too high up and at an awkward angle. Luckily, the tall hillsides did provide some nice color to the background, and it was great actually getting to see the rarest bird of the day that I had hoped to see. Clearly, my planning was paying off.
So a second huge thing to keep in mind when planning your routes is to make sure you get to the correct places at the good times of lighting. Now, luckily today's been a cloudy day, so we really haven't had any problems with light, but Natural Atlas allows you to go into their app or on the website and manually lay out a route that gives you detailed reports of elevation and mileage gain, so you can make sure to be in the correct places at the correct times. For example, right now I'm hiking out to see a couple of falls that I discovered the other day, and it's about 2 miles away from me and about 1,000 feet in elevation gain, and I can see all the ups and downs in the hike. The final huge aspect that I keep in mind while planning a trip is weather conditions. Thanks to Natural Atlas's detailed weather maps, I can pull up my exact route and overlay temperature and cloud cover maps that allow me to know at what times of day how warm or cold, sunny or cloudy it is. This is incredibly helpful for photographers knowing how to dress, but then also knowing when they're going to be getting good light.
If you're interested in trying out Natural Atlas for yourself on the computer or by downloading the app, check out my link in the description below. It's completely free to try and use the base functions of, and I think you'll find it as valuable as I have. Finally, after a few hours of hiking through the hills, I arrived at my very first view of the waterfalls.
Well, so I'm getting my first spotting of the waterfalls that I was trying to hike to right now, and it looks like the river is still really thin. There's barely a trickle coming down that cliff about a mile out in the distance. And honestly, I think at this point, it's probably not gonna be completely worth hiking to. And so I'm probably just gonna start turning around here. Ooh, that's actually a western bluebird.
Pursuing that bluebird, I was able to get closer up and capture some footage, but just nothing that wound up being aesthetically pleasing. I often find that the difficult part about trying to do wildlife photography in a woodland is that it can be tricky to get birds down on the ground to get a photograph of, or even just eye level, meaning that so many times you're working with difficult angles. But that wouldn't be the case with my last encounter of the day. A lesser goldfinch male chasing a female stopped on an oak tree nearby. Something about that yellow in the midst of a green scene makes them so stunning. Yet this wasn't the best I would see. As I was moving up a little closer, it flew down to a bush with some purple flowers on it. And with the way that the dark woods behind appeared, it gave a beautiful contrast in darkness and light. And I wound up capturing a beautiful blend of colors and blur in this image that I love in a wildlife photography shot. Some would say I should get up nice and close with the subject in an image like this, but I feel like the scene around this bird really makes the image. And just when I thought I was done, I spotted a bright red male housefinch contrasting strongly through a window of green leaves off to the side. So I turned in that direction and fired off my last shot of the day, once again showing off the beautiful colors of this environment. Something about this location was so magical this morning, and I'm so glad that I discovered this location thanks to Natural Atlas. I'd encourage you all to keep your eyes open for new encounters and never to be afraid to embark on a new adventure. I promise you, it's almost always worth it. Thanks for watching. At the time of this video's release, I'm on a plane headed to Norway to spend 5 nights on an island. If you want to make sure you see that video, hit subscribe below and turn on notifications.